the new generation relate to the talk that I did. The moment I mentioned about snitch, I got a maximum voice and noise from them. Hey, I know about the brand. The premise of our offering always have been keep the customer problem statement at the center of it. If you look at it, a lot of brands come to us and say, yeah, मुझे Panga type का campaign चाहिए. Eventually, as a brand, what you need to do is that you need to be part of the conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of GIBS IRE Talks podcast, powered by GIBS Business School, a place where innovation meets inspiration. And I'm your host, Dr. Pallavi Vyas. I'm sure you would agree with me, wherever there is buying and selling of goods involved, there is a lot of marketing involved in it as well. Whether it is a local farmer's market or whether you see all those glamorous advertisements on television, marketing is everywhere. But then there are very few marketers who have actually understood the pulse of what the people want to hear. Though we know marketing has been evolving a lot, but then out of all those people who have actually understood what the customers want to listen, we have one very innovative marketer amongst us. Or rather than calling him marketer, I would call him as marketing mafia, because that is how he recognizes himself. He's the one who has understood the pulse of the Generation Z and also understands what the millennials want to hear and make sure that all of it is reflected in how he looks at marketing. So let's hear from our guest for today, Mr. Himanshu Arora, who's also the founder of Social Panga, or rather, he's widely known as the marketing mafia. So let's just hear from him what was his mantra of marketing and how is it that at a very young age, he understood the world of marketing so well. Hello, Mr. Himanshu, and welcome to the GIBS IRE Talks podcast. And thank you for agreeing to be on our podcast today.
My pleasure.
So while we begin, my very first question to you is, could you share with us something about your initial life and what exactly has been like, what has been your education like, and what brought you this far?
So typical middle class family, born and brought up in Delhi. Parents pushed us to do an engineering. 2003 was not aware what needs to be done. Did my engineering. In fact, during my engineering, my first startup was started. That's when the entrepreneurship, now we term it startup entrepreneurship, kind of got into it. Typical way, after engineering, you should finish your complete your education. So did my MBA. My second startup was in my MBA itself, and then Social Panga was born. Have been doing this marketing from last 21 years now, from 2003. And when the brand started reaching out to us, want us to do professionally, we thought, why not form a company? And then we thought, let's form a company, and then Social Panga was kind of coined.
Oh, wonderful.
That's
wonderful.
a quick thing. Delhi boy in Bangalore from 2007, I guess.
Since 2007, you're in Bangalore.
From 2007, yeah.
All right.
So pseudo Bangalorean.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful. So could you share a little bit about what exactly were those initial entrepreneurial projects?
Yeah. The first one was termed as Masti Express. So if you know, screensavers that used to come on computer or laptop, we used to make that wallpapers. Content generation, the term that we use now, but we were writing reviews of movies and all those stuff. We sold that out. That was with my college mate. My younger one, now who's also my co-founder, was also helping us that time. And then we thought, hey, when dial-up days was there of internet, if you remember. So people were consuming content on dial-up. People were downloading wallpapers and screensavers and putting on the desktop. Laptop was still not there. Apps, iPad and all obviously were non-existent.
Yes.
Right? But that was a big thing that time.
At that time, absolutely.
And the second startup was in the education space. Was now we have Byju's, unfortunately, and academies of the world, which is called We Faculty, which is in terms of education plus the corporate one. So the premise of that is very simple. If you go and join any IT companies, Infosys, Wipro, any company, right, good 1 year is being given in terms of training the students. And effectively, if you look at a national level, good productive 1 year of a younger generation get lost in terms of getting trained, which is on the basis of inefficiency of our education system.
Correct.
So it was built on the way that education is imparted in the right way in the colleges itself, and that 1 year could be zero.
Okay.
And then Social Panga was obviously
all right.
got some funding and other pieces also around there.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So, could you share with us what inspired you to start Social Panga, and what was your initial vision for the company when you started?
So I always believe that somewhere vision is something that gets evolved as we go along.
Yeah.
You start with a basic premise, then you figure it out. This is what you want to do. I don't say that vision is not required, but it's an ever evolving space.
Correct.
So when Social Panga was born, it was started with the reason that we were doing a lot of digital marketing, and bigger brands like Unilevers and all the world started reaching out to us. And in personal capacity, we couldn't serve them. So like if we can't serve them, we need to have a company, and Social Panga can serve them. So then what we started with. The premise of our offering always have been keep the customer problem statement at the center of it.
All right.
Your services generally get to evolve. Same for us. When we started, it was a pure play digital marketing. We were doing only social media, some bit of media and SEO. Now, if you look at it, we do content creation, we do production, we do collabs, influencer, 50 other things, right? Why we're able to do so? Because we kept the customer requirement and what is happening in the industry at core of it, right? The way your content consumption have changed at personal level. It used to be newspaper, it's to move to Instagram. Now you look at a lot of influencers who speak about it.
Absolutely.
So when your consumer content consumption pattern is changing, as a brand, it's our job to serve them.
To serve them accordingly, yeah.
Correct. And we have done this every 2 years, something new get added to it, how we operate. But again, going back to the simple thought process, no rocket science around it. Eventually, as a brand, what you need to do is that you need to be part of the conversation.
Correct.
If you have to be part of the conversation, you need to be where people are having conversation,
Yeah.
or listening to conversation. So earlier, if you used to remember, people used to read,
Yeah.
right? Then it moved to Facebook, then Instagram. Then when TikTok got banned, Reels.
Correct.
So video, short form video. He was speaking about short form video, 10
Videos,
second, 15
yes.
second, 20 seconds. Content creators are making an impact. So somebody trusts a content creator more than a Shah Rukh Khan or a Katrina Kaif.
Absolutely.
So as a brand custodian or a brand agency, how can you help with them?
Correct.
So that's how we have evolved of 10 years of our existence. We
Wonderful.
start with one core thought process and obviously keep on evolving it.
And probably in that evolving process, you look at how the generations are changing, and I'm sure the conversation that today's generation does, it's not exactly how it used to happen long back.
Chalk and cheese.
That's what. So like you said, those 10 and 15 seconds videos, I think that's all is the attention span, and within that time you have to make that impact.
Absolutely. So if you look at it, I always believe that you should always have your ears to the ground.
Correct.
In terms of what is happening. There have been cases where brands have become obsolete, the same brand that we are using, and I don't consider with that old, which the next generation don't even consider buying, right? And there are multiple other brands have come in from the same company. Like take an example of Zudio or Snitch. The new generation relate to the talk that I did. The moment I mentioned about Snitch, I got a maximum voice and noise from them. Hey, I know about the brand.
Correct.
Which was not the case about few years back. So if you're not listening to them, correct, and only think that what you know in a boardroom, you lose a battle eventually.
Absolutely.
And there are 100 brands who kind of lost out because every generation comes with a new way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And we as a previous generation, I end up saying now, think that, hey, how they're thinking, why they're thinking.
Yes.
But what they think is right, and they have a different way, and they're 100x better than us.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense as well. So moving on to the next question, you call yourselves as marketing mafia, and I was just going through your website and your social media, and I saw that you say that we are unconventional, unafraid, and unabashed. So could you share something more about it, as in what exactly is your marketing philosophy when you say that?
So there's no rocket science around it, right? Any advertising that you do, if it don't stand out, it will not get the attention.
Correct.
And why is brands investing in money in advertising is because they want people's or their consumers' attention.
Absolutely.
Right? And as a DNA of an organization, if it's not to do advertising, may use the term out of the box or different, as a DNA, how will you think differently for the brands?
Correct.
Correct? And if you look at it, a lot of brands come to us and say, yeah, मुझे Panga type का campaign चाहिए.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that Panga type campaign is exactly what we started with. You asked us question, what was your mode and vision when we started with? That's exactly the same thing. We'll not approach any problem statement with a status quo. Everything needs to be looked at differently.
Correct.
So the mode is very simple, is that anything that we get, right, don't look at from a status quo standpoint.
Yeah.
The reason that somebody have come to us is because the brand is not happy or they want something different.
Correct.
So a lot of time people say, they have been doing this for 10 years. Why you changed it? We changed it, hence people remember us.
Absolutely.
There are multiple brands that we work with, brands like Mama, Zepto, Manipal Hospital. The reason that brand comes to us and stay longer is keep the consumer and the customer at core of it. Don't keep the brand at core of it. Eventually the brand will evolve, or communication needs to be done the way people want it to happen.
Correct.
And it's become conducive from a consumption standpoint.
Yeah, and then like we just discussed about, brands are evolving, customers' preferences are evolving. The customer is not the same. Probably the ones who were serving 10 years ago, they're not the same. They're not your customers anymore.
Absolutely.
So, of course, you will
Absolutely.
have to evolve your strategies based on what the customers want.
And the way consumer is consuming content, chalk and cheese again changed.
Again.
Nobody picks up the newspaper in the morning and go through
Absolutely.
it. I may old timer, right? They go through the reels, they look at the push notification, correct, and then they figure it out whether they want the brand to be not or not.
Correct.
But if you're not part of the conversation, you're losing out on a major chunk of the business.
Correct.
And the content to consumption or a business or e-commerce or commerce is a big game out there.
Yeah, of course. So you have to be there and know what
Absolutely.
people want to listen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because the new generation or any generation wants to be in a space that nobody can tell me.
Yeah.
So if my mother have used that brand and my mother is telling me use this brand, I said no. I'll figure out on my own.
Correct.
Even though the same brand, I will use it.
Yeah.
But the decision making will be done by
On some other parameters on the basis
absolutely.
of other parameters.
So we always say that this generation is a rebel.
Agree.
But if you look at it, we were also like that.
Exactly.
Our parents were also like that.
Yeah.
Correct? So that's the DNA that we need to figure it out, that every generation we think is rebel, but every time that we say it's the same thing, we've also done.
Yeah.
The norms or the way you've done it may be different.
Might be different. Agree. And then the way technology is available to us, what was available to them was different, and now we're evolving. So our ways also are accordingly evolving.
The biggest thing is that we have choices for everything that we do.
Yeah, agree.
Correct? Swiggy, Zomato were non-existent few years back. Quick commerce was not there. So if you have to go out, if you remember, we used to go out once in a month or once in 6 months. Now people eat out almost on daily basis because they have the choice of app, picking up, ordering it.
Correct.
Which was not the case.
Not the case then. Agree. So I would want to ask you another question here. Now that you've worked with very big brands like Google, you've worked with LinkedIn, you've worked with Tata Motors. So what exactly has been your strategy? I mean, how did you scale up, and what do you think has been the core of how well you've been able to work with these brands and have been associated with these brands so well? And then the newer ones that have come.
Social Panga wise is
Yes, yes.
So again, I'm going back to the same philosophy or a DNA, right? Kept the brand and the consumer at the core. There's no rocket science around it. So if my consumer is a new age consumer and they wants to consume some bit of a content on Instagram, not on Facebook, and I'm doing my advertisement on Facebook, brands will lose.
Correct.
Eventually brands will say that nobody is coming to me. But why I am doing on Facebook? Because I think it's right. Not thinking what a consumer is.
Yeah.
Today is Instagram, tomorrow would be Snapchat.
Something else, yeah.
Correct? I don't know. So whenever we look at any brief or any objective or any problem statement, I don't look at what the brand is saying. Brand is saying is one part which he or needs to tell me about the brand. What needs to be done which is right for the brand, correct, as a brand custodian or an advocate is my job. And I will give them what is happening in the industry and what is right for the brand. It may challenge again the status quo.
Correct.
Sometimes they accept, sometimes they don't accept. Okay. But you always need that consultant's approach or a solution provider approach rather than just see haan, because. So we don't look at from a business point of view. We always how the brand is benefiting. And it always happens when the brand is benefiting, business will eventually grow.
Yeah, of course.
Business will come back to you again and again. We have relationship like 6 years, 7 years, 8 years because we kept the right thing at the core. Not just to say 6 months relationship and move on.
Correct.
Sometimes it backfires, 99% it works.
Great, great. So, if you could just tell me and our audience that as an entrepreneur yourself and also as a consultant, how do you make sure that you understand what exactly the customer wants, or what exactly are the best practices you would say have helped you, and what kind of skill sets or competencies do you think really help you in doing this that you're doing, as in the great marketing strategies that you implement?
So it's a very simple stuff. Don't get into a conversation to sell or just speak.
Okay.
Get into a conversation to understand and listen. The moment, and it seems simple, but that's the most difficult part to do. I'm getting into a discussion, and out of 30-minute discussion, 25 minutes I'm listening. And listening to not to just respond, listening to give them the solution. Both are two different things.
Yeah.
People listen and give them the same services which you're doing. They're ready to speak.
Oh yes.
Listen to absorb.
Correct.
And then give them the solution. 90% cases I've seen the services. Yesterday I was sitting with a vendor. He came to the office and he was looking for a meeting for the 6 months. He didn't even know what I want. He came, opened the laptop and started selling my services. 99% stuff I'm already doing. That 1% pieces why I accepted a meeting request is something which I want if you do or not do.
Correct.
And end came out that he can't do that.
Oh, okay.
So my point is this, that even you're selling services or doing anything, if somebody looking to buy my services, first at least listen what he needs.
Correct.
And in that 5 minutes, give them the solution.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have the solution also, then I come back to you. People will appreciate it a lot more. Versus you open your laptop, start saying, hey, this is a brand I work with, they'll doze off, let me come back to you.
Yeah.
This is a very, very critical piece which people miss out.
Yeah, correct. Because you've not spoken anything which they wanted to hear or was
any friends who come to you look for a solution. Can you give a solution? No. But if you give a good ear to that person, half the job is done.
Yes.
Correct?
Agreed.
Like, theek hai, do this, okay. They just need a confirmation, affirmation.
That I am in the right direction or not. Correct. Agree. So, as an entrepreneur in digital marketing, I'm sure you must have had your own challenges, your own setbacks and issues that you might have faced. I'm sure you would have waded through those issues as well. So, could you share with us any of those challenges which probably may be of interest to other digital marketers, and any such successes that you might have had, any strategies which helped you succeed? So if you could just share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing which we have noticed that has worked for Social Panga, we are not restrictive in a way that this is the only way that we should operate. So if it was SEO, paid media a few years back, the way SEO have evolved, we have also evolved.
All right.
And this is a good, bad, both. Digital marketing is ever evolving space. So you also have to learn yourself. Now, people are speaking about AI. We should be the one who should know about AI.
Yeah.
People are speaking about production. We should know it is. So don't be restrictive to what you have started with.
All right.
You have to change. And brands who have being there for ages, at least from a services standpoint, if not product or digital marketing or any kind of an advertising, are the one who kept on changing themselves. And as an entrepreneur, as a founder, obviously you can't learn everything. You need to have the right skill set to know what is happening and get those people who know that onboarded with you.
Yeah.
So your people should not be, from a skill set point of view, a replica of yours. Maybe from attitude point of view, yes. But from a skill set point of view, they should know much more than you. Correct? And you should be open to say, I don't know this, please teach me, or make sure that you bring that competency on table or skill set.
Yeah.
Attitude may be same because that's how you gel together. Your people end up saying, because nobody should know more than me, Hence, your understanding or your sales can become a ceiling of any service company, and they don't go further.
Yeah, agree. So you have to have, first of all, that acceptance that you might be better than me, and I'm willing to and open to learn from you as well.
Acceptance, and you should know your bit.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah,
no, not
exactly.
everybody knows everything.
Yeah, agree. So you may be good at something and somebody else may be good at another thing. And that's how we bring complementary skills together and build a team like that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what makes sense. So could you also share with us any advice that you would have for entrepreneurs, probably those who are willing to explore something in the digital marketing space? So any advice that you have for them, if you could share with us on how they can become successful and differentiate themselves?
Two things. One is don't take yourself too seriously. And why I'm saying this is there are hundreds and thousands of those other, right? Focus on one objective and one brand that you're working on, correct? And don't think that you know everything. And why I'm saying don't take it seriously, because then if you think that you know everything, then you're not exploring anything else, right? As an entrepreneur, it's a job, especially in digital marketing, as I mentioned, to keep on exploring whatever is happening, whether it's AI, non-AI, right? In terms of e-commerce, whatever it is, correct? That is one. Second is, if you're into a service business of digital marketing or any advertising, focus on cash flow. I learned this from somebody who told me about 10 years back. Businesses are built on profit and losses, but businesses are killed on cash flow. So if you're building and starting off something, survival is the most critical piece for you for initial 3 to 4 years. And if you don't focus on cash flow, you're not able to even survive. Okay. So initial 2 to 3 years is critical, and focus on a cash flow. But nobody will tell you, because it's not a very glorified version of saying it. People will speak about hundreds of things, but basics of running business is still a critical part.
Yeah, of course, because everything depends on how well you've been able to manage your cash. If not, then of course, where would you go? All right. So my another question to you is, we teach something called as innovation, research, and entrepreneurship here to our students, and just to build that entrepreneurial capability in them. So could you also tell us what role does innovation and research play in entrepreneurship? If you have any insights to share with us around that.
Research plays a very, very critical role in entrepreneurship, right? What do you want to do in terms of your own company? So when you're doing a research, the mind opens up, right? Innovation, I believe, is still a outcome of that. For me personally, is that doing a research, what is happening at a global market, what is happening in US, what is happening in Europe, what is happening in India. That's when your mind starts opening up. Hey, I can explore this, I can explore this. This is a white space. This is where my interest lies, correct? Because exposure or research becomes the first step towards what you want to do. So I'll give a small example, may not be research related, but exposure. I did my internship in Coca-Cola in a sales job. I was my MBA. I figured it out, even though FMCG, Coca-Cola is the most glorified piece for any marketing student. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do sales, even though that's a starting point for an FMCG brand. Correct? Again, exposure. Either a research or an exposure kind of allows you to speak to multiple people or consume a lot of information and figure out, this is something which I want to do, or this is something which is a white space which I can explore. And then build up an innovation on top of it, because if you see a white space, you're saying there's a gap out there, you do an innovation or innovative product on top of it, and acceptability goes up.
Agree. And if you've not explored at all, like you said, if you've not exposed yourself to anything, then you really don't know what opportunities are lying there in front of you. So I think, yes, it makes sense that exposure automatically leads to research and then probably innovating something new. So with this, we come to the last question for today's podcast. And if you could just tell our audience what exactly is on the agenda of Mr. Himanshu and Social Panga. So if you could just tell us what next on your agenda. And
so it's an interesting phase for us. We kind of got few investors on board. We expanded in Dubai. We're looking in IPO route in next couple of years. We kind of got all the nut and bolts in place for the same. Moving into multiple different offerings, like an influencer, content marketing, pieces. And from a scale point of view, Dubai already started maybe looking at different geographies like US, UK, and Australia in a couple of time frame. Simple.
All right. Great, then sounds very good, Mr. Himanshu. And thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
with us on today's IRE Talks podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Pleasure is
much.
all mine. Thank you for hosting
Thank you.
me.
So, with this, we hope we've brought you closer to an understanding of what marketing is all about. And I'm sure you have got a very good understanding of what innovation and entrepreneurship means in today's world. So, while we come to a close to today's IRE Talks podcast, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel @IRE Talks podcast. Please do follow us on all our social media handles @GIBS IRE Talks Podcast, @GIBS Business School. And I'm your host, Pallavi Vyas, signing off for today while we meet in another session of the IRE Talks Podcast, powered by GIBS Business School, a place where innovation meets inspiration.